First of all, hi.
Hello.
It's great to see you and to spend a few minutes together. So
Yeah,
so I wanted just to take this moment to ask you about the piece and
mm,
what was your inspiration to write it the way you did, and with its various movements. Do you have any thoughts about uh, its performance and how
yeah,
people would listen to it?
of course. So the commission was originally, I was asked to write something that incorporated ragtime, and I must admit that's not a style I've written in before, and I took that as a kind of starting point for a three-movement piece called Heads Up, which is the middle movement has a ragtime, but not just a pastiche ragtime. It's not a copy of Joplin or whoever, but it's put through my own jazz filter, if you like. So there's uneven time signatures, there's some juicy jazz chords, there's a kind of um, chromatic, slightly woozy quality to the harmony at times, you could say. So in a way, I've taken the idea of ragtime, but then gone with it in a new direction. And from that, I worked. So that was the movement I wrote first, and then I worked outwards. And the first movement, I wanted something that was a swing piece because I'm a big lover of swing, and I write lots of swing music, not just for organ, but also for piano, ensembles, orchestra. So the first movement is called Swing Around, and that has a strong kind of big band or jazz ensemble quality to it, walking bass line, lots of swing rhythms and jazz chords. And in a way, I realized that I was kind of drawing on certain American styles that are well known from the early 20th century. So the ragtime obviously is the earliest, and swing came later. And then for the third movement, I decided to use music that was kind of felt like it was from a later period, which has sort of elements of bebop, but also of Latin rhythms. And and so in a way, I was kind of, and they're all not pastiche movements, as I say. They're all styles that are I've assimilated and have brought my own take on them, and they all have a kind of shared jazz harmony and a kind of uh, unpredictable rhythmic quality to it. So it's and the last move is called sweepstake. So I've got three movements which all start with the letter SW. So swing around. The second movement is swag rag, and the third movement is sweepstake. And it's stake spelt Steak, as in the meat. So in a way, the piece is it's something which is energetic, it's fun, it's something that's got a lot of it's very secular, it's got a lot of jazz energy, jazz harmony, and in some ways, I think of it as being a little bit like going to the circus or the fair, and there's a lot of activity and energy and enthusiasm, and there's a kind of buzz in the air. And that's what I'm trying to evoke with this roughly 10-minute piece.
That's so helpful. So when the new music committee was thinking through what we wanted to, who we wanted to ask to do compositions, one of the one of the criteria was as much diversity as possible,
Yeah.
and you really have this great sense of expression in the idioms that you're just describing. That's frankly, it's rare in the organ world of composition. And um, how did you fall into that, making that kind of a bridge, if you will, between the world of the Hammond B3 and the pipe organ?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not trying to be a Hammond B3, I realize, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, that may have had some influence, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
certainly. Well, so I was always a big lover of jazz, but also the way that jazz influenced classical composers, particularly American composers. So obviously Gershwin, and then later Bernstein, and then there are elements of jazz in Copeland, and then obviously in modern jazz classical composers like Wynton Marsalis, and and so I've always composed in that vein, with using kind of a mixture of jazz harmony and rhythm with classical structures and certain classical kind of phrasings, you might say. And it just so happened that I'm an organist. So it wasn't that I've ever consciously decided to write for the organ in a certain way. It's just how I write music generally, and I've written lots of choral music in that idiom, and as I say, also for ensemble and orchestra. So in a way, it just turned out that because I was doing a lot of organ recitals when I started out, that I was writing pieces for myself to play, and that was how they turned out. And the nice thing was that then other people asked to perform them as well. So inevitably, they're written for me to play most of the time, and so I haven't considered how other people would approach them. So some of them are quite difficult. And this one, I must admit, I've reined it in a little bit, because I've thought I want this piece to be not just approachable to the listener, but also to other players. So it's certainly a concert piece, but it's also something that I hope is very performable, very doable for lots of performers. So that's kind of where I've come from as a musician generally, is the whole mix. And it just so happens that one part of my life involves playing the organ and writing for it.
Well, you've touched on a kind of very basic compositional change, if you will, from say the Baroque period, where people like Bach, he wrote for himself and for his students. He wasn't interested, as best we know, to write for posterity and for future generations or anything like that. It was just practical. And then we moved into a period where composers would just compose for as wide a spectrum as possible, because it was what they wanted to do, which is fine. And it's nice to have it come back to our roots, especially as organists, because it's such a unique instrument to write for.
Yes.
So, well, that's great. And you're going to be at the convention as well.
Yes. I'm hoping to come along. All's well.
It'll be nice to meet this person face to face, and I can't wait to hear what happens with the piece, and I'm sure it's going to be loved by everybody with big smiles. Yeah,
that's what I hope. Something which is kind of fun and light, and but also energized, and to get people to get a little buzz going. Something that's got a kind of bit of a thrill element to it.
Yeah. So welcome, and again, thanks. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Or evening, I guess I should say.
Yes, indeed, it is. Yeah.
And I'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks, Jonathan. See you. Bye.